Tēnā koutou katoa. Dear friends, hello and warm welcome here from the back part of our St. Mary's, the old cathedral of Auckland. It is a building built in 1886, and I wish to record this short message today on 5th of November just to put into perspective the days and events of which I wish to talk to you today. Today is Parihaka Day here in Aotearoa, New Zealand. It is a day which spoke so loudly to me in those first days when I came to this country almost 10 years ago. And I wish to share with you a few thoughts about this day, which is always somehow a little bit in a shadow of Guy Fawkes Day. I think it is so important to be aware of this day and celebrate it with great joy and pride, because it is a story of non-violent resistance so many years before Mahatma Gandhi in India, who stood up against the oppression of the British Empire, and so many years before Dr. Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks, who stood up for the rights of the African American people. The story of Te Whiti Orongomai and Tohu Kakahi is a story that every New Zealander, no matter of our background, could be proud, because second half of the 19th century was not the happiest period in our national history. It was a period of New Zealand wars, it was a period of land grab, it was a period of injustice, it was a period of constant fight and vengeance between warring parties. Since 1865, when it was established, Parihaka, a village in Taranaki, became a focal point for Maori people to seek the alternatives to violence and vengeance. Their leaders, Te Whiti and Tohu, were the examples of faith that knew that it is impossible to find ways to justice by doing injustice to those who commit injustice. There is no way to peace if peace is not being kept. So Parihaka became a center for non-violent resistance. Whenever land was being taken, they would send plowmen to plow and prepare the fields for the crops. The workers were sent to build fences to protect the gardens. But whenever crown soldiers came to arrest or to take the land away, they were met with peaceful, non-violent resistance. That was the way that Te Whiti and Tohu wanted to show. And that is why Parihaka is such a loud, light, and bright shining example for all of us today. Big events of 5th of November 1881, so 140 years ago today, show us how the story of Parihaka ended. Crown soldiers came. They were met with children and women who offered them food, and yet they continued. They went to the raid and they have confiscated the land. Men who were peacefully protesting were taken away, many of them put into prisons for period of time in places like Wellington and Dunedin, which also tell the part of this story of Parihaka. Hence, those events show us how important it is to resist the injustice. But equally, the example of Parihaka shows us that there is no peace, real peace, if we don't work for justice. There is no real justice if we don't try to confront ourselves with our past, try to amend it, and live for the future. I might have some distance from those events by not being descendant of the settlers of that time who were involved in the raids, but equally not being a tangata whenua to whom this injustice was done. But nevertheless, this story speaks so deep to me as a shining, bright example of hope which we have in this land of Aotearoa, New Zealand, if we meet in the bonds and connections for which Te Whiti and Tohu were witnessing. Parihaka, all the way until today, is and stays a wonderful example how we are called to work together in unity in this land. Hence, I wish to offer a prayer, a reflection that I came across for this day. E te atua o te rangimarie, kia whakapaingia ngā uri o Parihaka. We look to our past to provide lessons for our future. The present is a place to check our past. Parihaka speaks to us of peace, a new way of seeking justice. It opens up the horizon of hope to bring glory to God in the highest, peace on earth, and goodwill to all people. How can we be instruments of peace? What do we need to do? Come together, talk together, walk together, work together. When our peace is challenged, the message keeps us true. Keep plowing the land. Keep honoring mana whenua e ngā mana e rua te whiti o rongo mai korua ko tohu kakahi, ngā mihi tēnā korua. Kororia ki te atua ki runga rawa, maungarongo ki te whenua, whakaro pai ki ngā tangata katoa. Mo ake, amine.